Have you ever gotten out of bed, looked in the mirror, and said, I'm having a bad hair day? Now, guys are lucky they can just throw on the baseball cap. Women put on hats, use ponytails, all sorts of things. But what is it about hair that makes us identify with just that feature? Nobody ever gets up and says, I'm having a bad nose day. It's probably because we feel we can control the hair somewhat, and it's always a part of the description. That person is tall with short dark hair. That person is short with long red hair. Hair really becomes an integral piece of what we are and how we see ourselves. This was my hair about 2.5 years ago. You'll notice it was much longer. That was a good hair day in spite of the freezing cold weather at the ski resort. But the whole idea of a good hair day was put into perspective for me when I had the ultimate bad hair day. As it turns out, chemo and hair don't really get along so well. About 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The surgeons got it all immediately. But they told me I have to go through chemo and radiation as a preventive measure. There are no pictures during that time. I didn't want to look in the mirror at that point in time, let alone be reminded years later of what that looked like. And it seemed a little counterintuitive that the thing that's really preventive, since we'd gotten it all, is what's going to make me look sick. I had a choice to make, and I chose to focus on my goal of being a very active, over 100-year-old. So I decided not to focus on the treatment. I decided to focus beyond the treatment. And I decided to focus on the one thing where I could tell that the treatment was coming to an end. Every millimeter of hair that grew back. And that's really what I focused on. I was lucky. After that ultimate bad hair day, I had a decent hair day because I found a wig that was fairly close to my natural hair. It was about the same color, a little bit thicker, a little bit curlier. I walked into a Halloween party, though, and a friend of mine looked at me for a solid 3 to 4 minutes before she recognized me. Because it was Halloween, I guess she thought it was a costume. So she came up and said, hey, is that your real hair? Well, the wig is made out of real hair. It's certainly mine. I paid $1,600 for it. Yeah, it's my real hair. But at least I was recognizable, and I felt much better for having put it on. Now, the thing about wearing a wig, for those of you who've never done that before, there are some hair maintenance issues. The first one is trying to figure out how to keep it on your head. They gave me these little strips to glue it on, but I've been told that that might ruin the hair follicles, so I didn't want to do that. So then you have to kind of balance and figure out how this is going to look. I had a meeting at work, and I really hadn't told anybody at work about this. And at the end of the meeting, it took about an hour, I went to the restroom. My hair had slid back about 1/2 inch. Now, the person I had the meeting with, luckily, is a friend, and it was one of the few people at work that knew about this. To this day, I can't really figure out if he was just being nice or if he just really didn't notice that my scalp had gone backwards. There's another maintenance issue. Of course, you have to take care, just like you wash your hair, you have to wash and style a wig. Now, you don't have to do it as often as you wash your real hair because it's not attached, so it doesn't really get the oils, and you're not sleeping on it, so it doesn't get crushed. But every once in a while, you have to wash it and you have to style it. It made it look a little bit more natural because after a while, the curl would kind of come down and made it look longer, and then I'd have it styled again, and it would boost it up again. But the thing is, I didn't do this myself. The place where I purchased the wig, they have a service. And that service let you drop off your hair, they style it and curl it, and then you go pick it back up. So I would drop off my hair in the morning and pick it up in the afternoon. I worked from home a lot. But ultimately, my hair started to grow. And again, I was celebrating every little millimeter. And it was time to actually come out with my new hair. Well, I had to come up with something, some kind of a story. And I started brainstorming with my friend Kathy, and she said, I've got it. You tell people, I would really like to tell you about what happened. It's such a good story, but I can't. It happened in Vegas, baby. We decided that we had to go to Vegas to make that story true. We went to Vegas, and I did not take my wig. And I looked a little different. I was a little self-conscious about this, so the first thing I did is buy the dress. But as Kathy was taking this picture of me, these two guys walked by, and apparently one of them said, hey, she's hot. I didn't hear that, but Kathy was saying, yes, she is, and took the photo. I can't tell you how good that made me feel, because I had so much invested with the way that I looked with the long hair, and even with the covering up. So this is a really good hair day. I got back to work, and I had done a little preparation of my colleagues with stories like, oh, I've had the same hair since I was 5. I might try something a little different, maybe something a little shorter. I walked in with that hair, nobody recognized me. Again. A few folks recognized me only if they heard me on the phone as I rounded the corner. And then they recognized the voice and said, oh, that's you. But I would typically meet people in their offices and not in the cafeteria because I just didn't think that they would recognize me. Then, of course, I got the questions. Oh, did you get a perm? Was your hair always that curly? And I'm thinking, well, no, it is chemically induced. So I just nodded a little bit and let that go. But the number one question that I heard during that time is, did you go through a bad breakup? No. We finally reached the great hair days because this hair started to grow. And I decided that, of course, I was going to tell people that short is just not for me. And it got longer. I started going to some conferences, and while everybody said, oh yeah, the short hair looks fine, one of my customers actually saw me with this hair length and said, you know, that was cute. That is so much better. So I started making a joke saying, well, that was kind of a fashion faux pas. But I felt so much more comfortable. And then, all of a sudden, I could do things with my hair again. And the first thing that I did was do a ponytail. Now, I was used to having my ponytail go halfway down my back. And when I initially had the ponytail, it was about this long. And again, I felt a little strange turning my head, and it was just kind of bumping around my head instead of being longer. But I walked into dance class, and there was somebody that had a shorter ponytail than I did. So I figured I was okay. Nobody was going to comment on that. The other thing I started doing is adding the accessories. I went to Hawaii and decided, well, I always had those flowers behind my ear. I want to take some home this time because in California you can't import flowers, and I wanted them to last longer. So I bought a bunch of flower clips, and they were one of the few things that I could clip in my hair that would stay at the shorter length. And that's really become a symbol. I just got back from Maui, where I did a celebration of all of this is behind me, and I bought another dozen flowers. It's seriously gotten to the point where people now comment if I'm not wearing a flower, and I have different colors and sizes, and I'm just playing with it, because that was a huge milestone for me to be able to just play with my hair, to have accessories. I'm not trying to make light of what happened, but what I do want to share with you and really challenge you, whatever your obstacle is, don't become depressed. Think forward, think positive, because the mind is a really powerful thing. And I felt that by focusing only on the humorous things, only on what was beyond the treatment, that really helped me cope. It really kept my spirits up. And I really feel that it helped me completely heal. Because as long as this real hair is attached to this real scalp, it is an awesome hair day.